So, you want to design a character, eh? Well, we're going to approach that subject today. And as always, the things we talk about in this video can be applied to many other areas. It's not just characters. It's theory-based. The problem with any of this game design stuff, is that it could be approached from so many different angles. Everything could be done so many different ways. So many things can be used for so many other things. So it's hard to make, unless you're doing a tutorial, it's hard to make a very specific video. So today we're going to talk about character design. That's about as narrow as I can get it without just making a tutorial. But as I said, and as I've said before, it can be applied in many ways. But we're going to look at, like you see behind me, or I guess in front of the screen. As you see, this is where I started with my character for my game. I don't know. To me, it's not much. I'll discuss in a few minutes here how I got to where I got, what I did to get there, and honestly how simple it is to do quite a lot within Dreams. The great thing about Dreams is that it is both the toy box and the toy factory. So you can pick out and play with any toy you want, but you can also make any toy that you want to make. And by toy, I literally mean anything in the game, any aspect, anything. Everything is controlled by you, and it's up to your skill, your talent, and your use and understanding of the elements available to you. But let's talk about game design. Or I'm sorry, the whole thing's game design, but let's talk about character design and how to approach that. I guess the first thing you do is, what's your character? You know, what are you making? If you've seen my previous video on game design or on design theory in general, you'll know that the character can be anything. It's basically the main focus of whatever your project, scene, whatever it is. But we're going to talk about how to approach that, how to design that, and how to get from like that to this. How did I get here from where I was? And the process that I personally took. But first, I thought I'd give you like a little sneak peek into my raw designing. Me at my wit's end when I'm trying to figure out how to make something work. Like currently at this process in the character stage, I've got obviously both weapons modeled and put on there, but I'm trying to get them to work properly with switching and unequipping. And here's a taste of that.
It like works and doesn't work. Look. Like, something's doing something weird. And so I go pick this up. It works. It does its stupid thing it's supposed to do. I press up, it puts it on the back, switches to like this, press up again, and it's not.
You excited?
Pick up my sword. Once I pick up the sword, I can switch. Doing all three.
And there you have it, as I struggled to figure out how to make this work, which I ended up I'm sure, I mean, again, there's a million ways to do anything in this game, but with my limited knowledge of making things work, I ended up just having to change the way I did things, and instead of making it cycle, I just applied the specific buttons to specific functions and made them work in a way that it kind of appears that you're doing what I wanted. But that's limited, and the use of that is going to change here because that only works when you have 2 weapons and unarmed. If I add a 3rd weapon, which I am going to add multiple weapons, I then have to come up with a new way of switching between it and cataloging it, which may change up the way I did it in the first place, so we'll see. But that's a whole different aspect of the design. Where to start, honestly, comes from what you're doing. Like I've said before, first it's what do you want to do? What is your goal? And then what do you need to accomplish that? So in my case, first of all, I'm aesthetically drawn to like I've said before, the juxtaposition of both cute and creepy, or cute and serious. So when I saw the puppets, the blank puppet for the smaller one with the big head, I've always been drawn to like the chibi, the Japanese chibi style of things. When you see a popular character that you enjoy, but in that cute style, I've always enjoyed that. So obviously, I was drawn to the small puppet because he had those features and those proportions already kind of built in. And from there, I honestly I don't know. I don't know where the spark came from, and I pun intended spark in the theme of my game, but I don't know where that came from. I started putting it all together. And the character's design came, as you see, he's got like the kind of animated smoky head, which I had in the original character design, but I've added eyes because he needed some personality to him. And that's one of the aspects of designing your characters. After you decide what you need to give it some personality. As you can see here, I'm changing his poses. If you pay attention, you'll notice that in the first part of the clip, the old style, the original character I built, I only did a single, easy swing animation for the attack, nothing big. I didn't change up any of the stances. I didn't change up any of the animations. I just added the ability to swing the sword and pick it up, things like that. But then as I came to actually designing the character I'm going to end up with, you want to bring them to life, and that means you're going to go in and you're going to change their standing positions. You're gonna, it depends. If it's a character, if it's a bipedal humanoid character, you're gonna do the things I'm talking about specifically. If not, you're gonna apply the theories. So, I went in, I added, a more realistic approach to standing, idling. When it came to the different weapons, I eventually was able to add a way of, changing the stance and the way that you move and jump and whatnot, depending on what weapon you're carrying, to simulate, weight differences, and to also give the player a different approaches to different situations. Of course, the great sword is giant and slow and powerful, but it also prevents you from jumping high and, moving in the same ways that you can when you're unarmed or using a smaller weapon. And there are ways of doing that are specific. Those are more logic-based, technical things, which I can approach in another video maybe sometime. But for right now, we're just talking about design. When it came to my character, I went with the simplest thing. The best thing, honestly, like I said, in a situation like you have with dreams in a toy box like you have, the first place to start is, does what you want, or something close to what you want, already exist in the Dreamiverse, in a way that you can grab it and use it, or grab it and adjust it? For me, it was the blank puppet that already existed, was already working out. Eventually, I discovered the blank puppet with a couple extra features added onto it. logic-wise from the YouTuber Acert. He's made a lot of great logic stuff. So I ultimately ended up using his puppet design and some of his logic he had built into the puppet, the blank little puppet that he had made. So I took that. I already designed my character out just off of the puppet itself. So everything you see before you, with the exception of the cape and the weapons, is already in the puppet. And the eyeballs. The eyeballs are paint. I painted two little eyeballs. I put the glow on them. I gave them some animation, and I connected them to the head so that they're always, connected to the head, just like you would with anything else that you scope in. And again, those are technical things that go into like animation and sculpting and all that, and I'm not talking about that today. That's more of a tutorial thing, but if you're familiar, then you'll recognize the techniques. But as far as like the head goes, I literally scoped into just the head model and adjusted the properties from there. You can adjust the flex, you can adjust the colors, you can adjust the animation of the flex and all that. And I came to this sort of evaporating kind of charcoal smoky look, which is, I don't know, it fit with what I wanted. From there, you would notice in the original, he had the kind of flaming hand, which again, I just scoped into the hand, kind of did the same thing I did to the head, but changed up the colors and the glow to match more of a fire. And, that's how I approached that. The reason being is I don't know, I felt like he needed something both ranged and he just needed another aesthetic piece to him. Originally, he didn't have the cape, and we'll get to that. But when I approached the design for my character, I did it as simply as I could, like I said. So I grabbed something that existed that was basic, and then I literally just adjusted the properties of the basic puppet and the colors. The body, the shirt, the hands, it's all just colors added or adjusted. When it comes to the feet and the boots, I just adjusted those parts and I gave them a shiny finish. And, it makes them look like I'm wearing reflective boots. It's very simple. It's very cheap. I didn't have to make or add anything. I just adjusted what was there, and I've got a character. Now, I then started looking at him, and I was like, he's a little naked. I'm missing something. I need a cloak or a cape or something. And again, went to the Dreamverse before I started working on how to make one, and I found the perfect one already made. It was actually a cloak. I took the body off, I took the head off, and I kept just what I wanted, the neck and the cape itself, and I attached them to my character, and I adjusted them. I changed them up a little bit, but essentially the piece was already kind of what I was looking for, and it made the whole difference. Brought the character a little more life and, well, character to him. And then when it comes to like the weapons, as you'll see, I stuck with the giant sword because when it comes to games, I love like oversized things. Small cute things and oversized swords is a big, like if I play Dark Souls or any of those types of games, I always go for giant great swords, even if they're slow and lumbering. I just love the idea of a gigantic, ridiculous sword. So that's where I got that idea from. And as you'll see, I changed the way he holds the sword when he's holding the great sword. He holds it over his shoulder. These are things you want to approach when after you've designed what your character looks like, what you want out of the feel of it. You got to start approaching things like, how does he stand? How does he move? The sword is giant, so what would you stand out like when you're carrying a giant sword, and start adjusting things from there. Again, those are all technical aspects, which, would go into an animation specific tutorial or video, because there are ways to keyframe things, save keyframes on different poses so that they can be activated when doing certain things, which is how I did a lot of the changes I did in stances and whatnot. And in the finished product, which I'll show, I guess it's not finished, but where I'm at right now, which is much more finished than this one you see behind you. I'll show off all the things he can do and where I've gotten now. Whereas before I could just pick up a weapon, put it on my back, put it back in my hand, shoot a fireball. I could lock on. I have not added the lock on feature yet because the one I used was kind of not a smart way to do it, not the way I ultimately wanted to do it. It was just a way to show the theory behind it. I'm still working on a way to do it the way I want to do it. It'll obviously be close to Dark Souls with that target locking and switching, but I don't know. I've seen a lot of logic pre-made, and none of it really works for me, and so I'm trying to find my own way, because that's what you do in dreams. You either find it and it already works, or it works somewhat and you make it work, or you see how it works and you try to copy how it works and understand that, and then you apply that to what you're trying to do. So it's always a combination of all those things. You don't have to do everything from scratch. But this is what we ended up with. Right now I've got a third weapon, the hammer I'm working on. It doesn't work at all right now, so I'm not going to show that off. But as you can see, I've got a roll. You can jump and roll. I've added emotes. You can switch between your emotes. The emotes do different things in different contexts. Those are all just separate animations I did. Using the same techniques that you use for everything else. You just use them in different ways. The way I did that is very similar to the way you do anything else. It's turning on and off an object at a certain time. It's keyed into the timeline for the animation. Got my fireball, and you know the animation for that. You've got the punch. I'm going to change up the sounds on a lot of these. Are just a lot of things that are placeholder as far as like sounds and things go. You got your block there when you're unarmed. Pick up your weapon, and you know it looks smooth, and it's just a matter of something simple like telling the end of the animation to trigger the destruction of the item and turn on the one in your hand. I mean, it's that simple to make it look smooth. You know, you can use the animation in trigger to make a lot of things look smoother. Like right there, the animation's the same no matter what, but it's how you use, you know. There was a point where when I did the animation, it would just pop in your hand immediately, or out of your hand. That doesn't look right. You gotta figure those things out on your own. But as you see, the stance is different. He moves slower. He jumps, you know, a lot less when he's carrying the big sword. As you see, I've changed up the way the big sword looks. I've added more details to it. Got the swing. Slow and lumbering. He drops the sword back. It's heavy. You know, it looks right. Those are all things that go into animation, and the theories of animation, the 12 principles of animation, you know, all those things which you may not know, but I'm saying you know, as in there's more information that you need that goes into what you see here. But those are all things for a different video. But basically, I mean, that's character design. You once again, what do you need? What do you want it to do? What do you need to make it do that? And what fits your aesthetic? What do you like? What are the things that, you know, you draw inspiration from? Mix them all together, and boom. When it comes to the theories of what is, you know, what works and what doesn't, like I said, use what works and what you like and mix it however feels right. I can't tell you how to make things cool because I don't know if what I made is cool or not. It's up to the viewer. But if you're still watching, thank you. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.